please. Now, the Woodward Entrance, I think you came in that way, was our original entrance. And when you come in that way, excuse me, sir, take your pictures in just a second, please. If you look at this wall behind me, that's the first wall you would see when you came in. Now, we know who did this room. Who did it? Tell me.
Diego.
And you know where he's from? From Mexico. Do you know when he came? 1931. 1931. He came at the request of William Valentiner, the director of the museum at the time. Now, this is the east wall, the first wall you would have noticed. The east wall has a lot of meaning. Tell me, what do you see on that wall? What's the thing right in the middle?
A baby.
A baby, and what is it inside of?
Snake.
It's
Fruits.
a womb, but it's also the bulb of a plant. Please, if I can have it just a little bit closer, because I don't want to have to yell. It's in the bulb of a plant. Look at the roots going out from it.
Yeah.
Okay? It's also being the east wall. He brings his Catholic heritage with him. The east wall in the Catholic Church is the wall of hope. So we've got the baby, the wall of hope. Now, this is also a celebration of Detroit industry. So in the two little panels on the other side of the baby, either side of the baby, not the ladies, but just below them, what industry do you see there? Agriculture was Michigan's first industry. Today, it is our second. It's still very strong. So we see the vegetables and fruits. Now you look up at our beautiful, voluptuous women, symbols of fertility, holding products of Michigan. She's holding wheat. She's holding apples. But they also represent an ideal. She represents South America. She represents North America. So he's envisioning the Pan-American Union as being something where we could all get along and work together. Now, if you will, turn around and look at the opposite wall. I'll get in front of you. If that's the east wall, what is this?
West.
West, okay. Now, again in the Catholic Church, the west wall stands for like a judgmental wall. Let's watch what we're doing with our thinking. So he's going to do a lot of talking about duality here. Look way up. See the grading? Way up there? And below that, it looks like a clock. And below that, there's a star with a skull and a head. Okay, the star with the skull and the head represents the Mexican belief of duality. Duality being a circular thing that we all have within us as individuals and corporations. The ability to do things constructively and very well, but also to use our knowledge destructively and badly. So he's saying, watch what you do with your thinking. And you're going to see that over and over again in this room. Now drop your eye down further and you see what looks like carving, but it's not, it's painted. There's a French term for that called grisaille. Now, within that wall over here, you see someone harvesting rubber. That's at the Ford plantation in South America, in Brazil. They're harvesting rubber. It's going across various oceans and waters till it gets to the Detroit River where it's unloaded, and they're using rubber for what? Good GM people that you are.
Tires.
Tires, yes. Okay. Now, if your head drops down more, you see the worker there, and you see management there. Do you know what his political beliefs were? He was a communist. So he believed that workers and management were equal. They're both needed, so neither one is bigger than the other. They're the same size. Here, the worker is producing electricity, starting to produce it. Over here, they're generating the electricity. Now, the turbine behind management's head looks like part of the body. What does it look like?
Stomach.
No, what's on either side of your head?
Oh, the ears.
Ears, because the Ford Motor Company was the last to unionize. And they listened more than the workers wanted to be listened to at that point. Now, in addition, the picture of management is called a composite. That means it's a little bit of two different people. It's a little bit of Henry Ford, a little bit of Thomas Edison. So it's a composite. Now, Henry never came. He never saw any of this because he didn't care about art. The one that loved art was his son, Edsel. Turn to this wall. See the man in the dark blue jacket? That is William Valentiner, the man who paid for Edsel to come, the director of the museum. So this was a European custom. You put the people who pay for the art into the art to say thank you for this commission. So they look very pleasant. The man in gray next to him is Edsel Ford. Now there's no flash on this, right? Okay. Edsel Ford is right next to him. That's the person who paid for it. Now, this is during the Depression, 1931-32. The style of art is called fresco, which is Italian for fresh. So you take fresh lime-based plaster and fresh paint, you mix them together, and they chemically bind. And when they chemically bind, it not only goes on the wall, it is the wall. So it's really indestructible unless we got a direct bomb hit or something. So we haven't done a thing to this room. It's as fresh and wonderful as it was the day it was done. And Diego felt it was his masterpiece when he came here and he saw the work that he was going to be in company with. He said, oh, I've got to do a good job. So he did a superb job. And they were only going to give him these 2 walls, but he saw the room and said, I want all of it. So they gave him all of it. And there was no editorializing, no judgment, no nothing. He did it all totally what he wanted to do with no one second guessing him or saying, no, you can't do that. Now, let's turn to this wall. And I'll get in front of you. Obviously, here we've got the biggest industry. Oh, before we do that, though, turn back, because big important point in this wall. Look to the left. What industry do we see up there? Aeronautics. That's peaceful use of aeronautics. It's passenger travel on planes, because Henry Ford also made planes as well as autos back in the beginning. Now, if you go that direction, you also get to Dearborn. So geographically, he's got it on that wall, because if you go that way, you're going to get to the plant where the planes were made. Now, look at the bird underneath the peaceful autos. What is the bird of peace? A dove. Now, look on the opposite side. There's aeronautics being used for what? For war. There is this duality again, good and evil. And right below is the bird of war. And what is that? That's a hawk, yes. Okay, now we can turn this way. So here we've obviously got, we had aviation there. And here we've obviously got auto production. This is where they're making the parts. But go way up. You see up here, he's talking about all of civilization. This is the African continent of the African people. This is North and South America. And if you turn for just a second, you'll see Europe and Asia, way at the top. Now turn back. In the middle of South America, North America, Africa, there is a volcano. He is telling us, both at the baby and the bulb of the plant and here, that the earth is the bedrock of our being, the bedrock of companies, of people. It's the foundation on which we build. What does a volcano do? It creates, but it's very hot, isn't it? It erupts and lava comes out, the lava comes down and cools and becomes the earth. Now, look down from volcano, straight down, and you see the blast furnace of the factory. See that red and orange that's just glowing? This glass ceiling, which a little bit of light is still coming in, this was there. He made it deliberately to shine. This was there, he didn't do that. But it shines on that red, the blast furnace, and makes it glow. Like he just finished painting it minutes before we came in and left the room as you walked in. But that blast furnace is the human equivalent of a volcano, because it takes the same enormous amount of heat to turn raw metal into steel as it does for the volcano to turn its elements into lava and consequently the earth. Now, look at how he's used the assembly line. Look at the grace. It's almost like a ballet. You can almost feel them moving back and forth. Now, given the name of your group, what do you see in this assembly line? We see diversity. All these different races. Was it like that in 1930? No. He's telling us ideally what it should be. This is what he envisioned an assembly line should look like, and today it does. So he's very forward-thinking. Now, look, ladies, or one lady now, since I've lost my other 2 ladies. Who's missing in that diversity?
Woman.
Women. No ladies. Turn around briefly, and in the upper right-hand corner, there's ladies doing embroidery. They're doing the upholstery. That's all that ladies did. Now, turn back this way again. And see the metal, the large silver columns? Those are part of the factory, but they also resemble ancient monuments in Mexico. So he's bringing his Mexican heritage here. Now we're going to see Diego Rivera. Look at the green faces. That's from a formaldehyde reflecting up on their faces. Probably not very healthy, but they didn't have the same health problems we had. Look at the black bar. To the left of the black bar, in the background, face looking right at us, is a round face with a round bowler head. That's Diego Rivera. Okay, do you see the green faces? Do you see the black rock going down the middle of that section? See the black? 32, 33.
On this wall.
And he's facing directly at us, round face, angular. So it's kind of fun that he put himself in. Now, all these little scenes that you see at the bottom, all these little scenes, these are a day in the life of the worker. He crowded so much into this that he couldn't crowd anymore. So if you were to see a picture of a saint in Europe, you might see the person's face, and underneath it would be little pictures of a day in the life of the saint. That's what he's done. He's done a day in the life of the worker. They punch in here, they go there, they have lunch, and on the other side, we'll get to that in a minute, there's more scenes where they punch out. Now, you can see how he's used the assembly line as almost like a snake. See how it curves to tie everything in together. Now, look in the upper right-hand corner. That's another industry. What do we see up there? Medical. So that would be doctors and medicine. There's a doctor, a nurse, a baby, serum taken from animals, and 3 researchers in the back. 1 layer of meaning. Second layer is Christian. What happens at the birth of Jesus? The nativity. You've got Joseph and Mary, and now the baby is Jesus. Now the blonde hair looks like a halo. Now the animals are the animals that would be there in the stable, and the 3 researchers are the 3 wise men. The third layer, 3 layers of meaning. The third layer, he's made the doctor look like William Valentiner, the director. He's made the nurse look like a popular actress of the day, Jean Harlow. He's made the baby similar, but not exactly the same, as the kidnapped Lindbergh baby. So he's got what was going on in the news, he's got the nativity, he's got this diversity, this duality of science for good. Right below, you see cells that have been inoculated, so they're healthy cells. Now look in the opposite corner. Science used for what? War. Because this is 14 years after World War I. And 14 years after World War I, they were making, they remembered during World War I, both sides, the Allies and the Germans, used poisonous mustard gas to kill each other, to wound each other terribly. So he's saying, come on guys, why don't you use your intelligence? Use your science for good, not for evil. And below are cells that have been poisoned. Now let's look at his signature, because that's always fun. Right there in the base of that engine block is his signature. Because this is such a fast technique, he worked on this for about 8 or 9 months, just a very short time. About 8 months, and that's all he took. And we've only washed this in 1985. We've never had to retouch it. 1985, once it was washed. Don't tell me with what, I don't know. But there are some, I know it, but they don't tell us that. We have a marvelous conservation department who knew exactly what to do and did it. Now, let's go over and look at this wall. So, let's stand here. Here is where they're putting the parts of the car together. We've already talked about Diego Rivera and not Diego Rivera, but Edsel Ford and William Valentiner. But this large silver machine there, that is a press. A press that when it comes down with tremendous force, it's being used to turn steel into fenders. And when it comes down really hard, the air rushes up real hard. That's why the young man's red hair is standing on end. It's another wonderful sense of humor. It's not been moosed. It's the force of the air coming down from the press, being pushed up to cause his hair up. It also is larger than it should be because it resembles a Mexican goddess of love and war. There's duality again, besides the fact that it actually did exist. He's expanding it and enlarging it as he does in so many places. Now, the man in the gray hat, he is the time study man, the one who says, hurry up, get the job done. So he's not very sympathetic looking. I don't think the workers would have cared for him. But look at the faces of the workers. Remember, he's a communist and he thinks workers are wonderful, so he's made them all conscientious, hardworking. But you see, there's a group watching them. There's tourists looking at them, just like we're looking at his work. He must not have had a high regard for tourists watching people work, because he's made many of them look like cartoon characters. In the back of that group, way in the corner of that group, is a man with a gray hat and a square jaw. He's made to look like Dick Tracy, the comic strip character. The little kids in the front with the beanies, that's a cartoon that no longer exists called the Katzenjammer Kids. And there's the lady in the brown he must have really liked Jean Harlow, because she looks like Jean Harlow again. He's got her twice. But the lady next to her in black is not a cartoon character. She's real. She was a cleaning woman here in the building when he was working. And he asked her if she would like to be in the mural. And she said, oh, yes. And she is either the grandmother or the great-grandmother of one of our docents. So it's come complete circle. Isn't that fun? To be able to say, there's my relative up on the wall. Now, let's come closer, because there's another lovely example of his sense of humor. Here we have Henry Ford teaching the workers about what makes the car go. The front of the car, what's in the front of the car? An engine. So it's a V8 engine. What else does it look like?
A dog.
Yes, it's supposed to look like a dog. It has legs and a head and a tail. Because in ancient Mexico, in this town in ancient Mexico, there is a dog that leads you from this life into the next life, just as the engine leads the car in this life. So he's using a lovely pun, a lovely visual pun there, which I think is charming. And look at the workers. They're all in the pose of the thinker as he's preparing them to understand how the V8 engine works. Now, back up again, because I want you to find one complete car in this picture. Nope, this one. So you got to back up to see it. Think about, there's one car that's finished. All these other cars you see are not finished. There's one complete car. Think of perspective.
It's all the way up by the red one.
Red one, yes. See this line right here? And see the like a tire? Just beyond that, way back there, is a red car. And when you think of him being a communist and he's using a red car, that's kind of cute too, because red was a symbol of communism. Now, when this came to Detroit, the public hated it. They wanted it torn down because they thought it was sacrilegious to bring the nativity and that into this. They thought the ladies were pornographic. They thought he was a communist, and that influence was all over, and they didn't like it. But William Valentiner and Edsel Ford were strong. Edsel Ford never said a word against it, but he did say, if you tear it down, I will never spend another cent on this museum. And the director was strong, because remember that he being Diego Rivera, did this wonderful mural in the Rockefeller Center in New York, shortly after he did this. And I never saw until I saw there was a documentary in our PBS station on Rockefeller. It was a national program. And I thought the whole mural was about Lenin, because Lenin's in it. Lenin's picture was that big at the bottom of the mural. And the Rockefellers didn't like it. And they said, take Lenin out. And he refused. So they paid him because he was finished. He went home. And the Rockefellers destroyed the gorgeous mural that he did in Rockefeller Center. So this has never been destroyed because of the strength of our two leaders, William Valentiner and Edsel Ford. Now, Edsel adored art. Edsel was just, oh, what a wonderful supporter of the arts, commissioner of arts, and marvelous, and his family still is. I don't know if you have time for more tours, but if you did, you should see the Edsel Ford estate, which is just breathtaking. And they have reproductions of pictures there with little circles saying that the originals of all those are here.